Hey there, it's Dan Marshall with another watercolor exercise slash challenge slash experiment. And it's something that can really help you with your color mixing and kind of exploring how you're mixing color and really sort of making something out of, not much. So it's a 3 pigment challenge, and I've got a yellow ochre, a permanent alizarin crimson, and a French ultramarine. And this is the painting I painted with just those 3 colors. And I used a new software when I was filming this, so the quality of the video isn't great. So please don't come at me with, oh, it's blurry or whatever, it's bad quality. I know it is. So the next one will be better, but enjoy the video, and please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And if you want some more watercolor instruction, head over to danmarshallart.com. I've got tons of videos and lessons and all kinds of stuff. So here you go. Enjoy. Hey folks, it's Dan. I am going to walk you through a sort of 3-color exercise, and we're going to use just yellow ochre, permanent alizarin, and French ultramarine, and basically using just 3 primaries, but they're kind of off primaries. So this is a fun exercise, and we're going to walk through it and see how it goes. Now I've chosen a sort of more simple reference picture that you can see here. And I'll be making some changes to this to kind of make it a little bit of a nicer painting. I'll definitely end up softening the hill in the background and making that just a little bit of a nicer kind of soft transition. And start with a very simple drawing here. Keep it loose, accurate, but more simple. Fencing here. There's some junk on the ground here. This long shed comes in. And then there's another shed back here, but I'm actually gonna put it this way, I think. This way. A nice vertical here. And actually, I'm going to connect that right into, I'm going to open that up here, connect that into the house here. So it's all a continuous shape. Let's see, we've got some foliage here growing out. And then there's this line of hay bales, but I'm not going to put it all the way across. I'm going to sort of put it in kind of to about here. Just have the background going back here. And then that soft hill, I'm going to bring it this way, have it so the tree and the house just kind of stick out from that just a little bit. And there'll just be this distant hill back here. No big whoop. All right, so here we go. 3 colors: French ultramarine, burnt umber. No, scratch that. French ultramarine, yellow ochre, and permanent alizarin crimson. And I'll probably use a little bit of gouache in there too. Okay. Okay, so here they are. Yellow ochre, permanent alizarin crimson, French ultramarine. And I'll just be using these 3 colors, which will give me some different effects than what I'm normally going to see in my paintings. Okay, so here we go. And I'm going to have to be wary of the tones I'm creating as well as the mixtures of color So this will be a challenge. This is a fun watercolor challenge. So I'm in my French Ultramarine here, and there's a little bit of dirt in my palette. That's okay. I'm going to start with this French Ultramarine and start with that in the sky. And I'll throw just a touch of alizarin into it also. And you know what? I'm actually going to throw just a touch of yellow ochre too. And you can see I'm just barely picking up this pigment, but this will bring it into a slightly more cerulean color if I add just a little bit of yellow to it. And let's see, here we go. So that seems a little dark. I'm going to add a little bit of water to that. Start to pull that down. And I'll put a little bit of action in the sky, but nothing too crazy. This will just be water. And kind of soften some soft action in the sky here, but giving me just a little bit of some directional movement. Get rid of some of those whites. And now just clean water. And I'll negate the house. Oh, there we go. Yeah, just some nice movement. Nothing too fancy. I'm going to transition this right into sort of a distance. So I'm going to take some of that yellow ochre, a little bit of that, well, all three colors really, but more yellow ochre than anything. And this should start to give me, I'm going to connect right into that for a soft edge in the distance. And I'm going to negate the roof of this building. Connect in and negate that roof. There we go. I can actually take this right through the side of this roof here. Right up in to put a base for this building here. Leaving white on the fronts and the rooftop here. Now I'll go a little bit more yellow into that. I'm also leaving some sparkle on top of the hay bale. And I'll go with pretty straightforward yellow ochre for this to start the hay bale base here. Going right into a little bit more of the idea of yellow in the ground. And I'll start to transform that into something a little bit more green as it comes forward. So that means blue into the yellow. Go right through that building there. And leave a little bit of a path where that's coming through. There we go. Now more cobalt blue and yellow ochre, just making a somewhat of a green. Bring that down. And getting thicker in consistency now as it comes down to really build that tonal depth. And now I'm going to just take straight yellow ochre and kind of just let it run through there and mix itself. This is going to push into that color and mix by itself into washing down that green. Give me some nice textures. Okay, and that's the first wash. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll move on. Okay, so this is pretty dry now, and I'm going to switch brushes to a smaller more organic brush. This is a squirrel, but it's not a mop. And I'll start framing in this stuff with some foliage. And I'm going to start with this green that's left over. I'm going to add a little bit more alizarin into that, and a little bit more French ultramarine. And I'm going to build this consistency up a lot thicker. Yellow ochre, more blue, and this will give me a nice heavy-bodied green. But I'm looking for something with a more oomph to it, more strength. And this is going to cut out and frame in the idea of the roof and the hay bale here. And I'll move my brush and create abstract pattern, framing in the edge of the roof there. And I can frame in some of that hay bale here also. And I think I'm going to put, you're going to use some of that to frame in over here too. And if I want a nice sharp edge, I'm going to swap brushes. This gives me more control to create a nice edge to frame in the rooftops. I'll put a little bit back over here too. Need a little more. And that alizarin crimson can be very strong, so you want to be careful not to grab too much like I just did, because that can be a very, very strong business. Drop a little bit more of this strength into here. And I think I'll add just a little bit of water in here and wash some of that down, give me just a little bit more interest and highlights, a little more watercolory effect stuff. And that's the pattern there. Now I can also use this brush a little bit more blue and yellow. Again, this is a slightly thicker consistency, but I'm going to put in some more distant, I'll just dry brush in some idea of some stuff in the distance back here. Just creating a sense of things moving backward in space. There we go. All right, I'm going to continue moving forward here. And I can go right into connecting this into, there's a lot of abstract junk framing in the front of this. And I can pull this right into shadow of the, in the reference photo there, the sort of shadowed side. So I'm going to use just a little bit of water to pull that across. I don't want that to get too dark, but can put in water and then drop some of this into the base here to kind of create the sense that this is tucked into the shade here. And that's going to cast a shadow out this way too. Well, it's got to sit into a shadow. So the sun is actually coming from this direction. We've got these nice lights here, so I don't want to have a shadow coming out, but I'm going to put just a little bit more blue into that, a little bit more yellow. And you can see I'm just kind of working this pile and pushing it from warm to cool. I'm just going to drop some nice darks in here to really give this weight. It's really sitting down into that shape there. And a nice crisp edge on this roof here. And if I lose it, I can always just add a little bit of gouache. Okay, so now we'll come into these building structures here, and I'm going to keep those a little bit cooler, so a lot more blue into that. And I've got this really nice blue-gray. And I can connect right into that shadow shape there. And put a shadow on this side. Connect right into that. That can disappear into that tree. And a little bit thicker consistency for a nice shadow on the front eave of this structure back here. Maybe I'll drop a little bit of that in there. There we go. And maybe there's a little window here or some kind of door, just something in there. Then I'll come right into the shadow side of this building. I'll go a little bit more purple with this. Leave a tiny highlight for the top of the roof there. Just filling the shape in as quickly as possible. And now what? I'm actually going to wash that down. That might be a little dark. So I'm just going to put a little water, disrupt that, wash it down a little bit. And then again, come with this much thicker consistency of stuff. Basically blue and alizarin, tiny little bit of yellow. And I'm going to want a nice strong shadow on the front of this here. Really pop that building out. I'll put a little bit of that dark back there also. I'll let that dry just a little bit. I'm going to do a little bit more in there, but I'm going to wait until it's almost dry. Very little bit of pigment on the tip of the brush here. And I'll put in a little bit of a soft secondary shadow within that shadow. And I can pop in some windows too. So blue. This is kind of all three of these. I'm just mixing a really thick dark here. Just drop in some little accents of windows. Maybe there's a little accent back there too. And some dry brush will do nicely for the idea of this fencing. And maybe I'll pull out a highlight here. Okay. And we'll connect right up into this, a little more yellow. I want this a little greener, more yellow. And just kind of ground all this stuff in over here. Connect right up into that stuff there. And kind of the same idea on this part of the building here. Going to need to go a little bit more into the purple again. So blue, a little bit of alizarin. I'm going to dirty it up with just a little bit of yellow. So it's a little bit more of a gray. Put that in there. Let's see here. Now, again, I am going to let that start to dry a little bit before I come in, and I will put a secondary shadow on the eave there. So again, with really thick stuff, kind of all three primaries are what I'm using for primaries in this painting. And again, this is really very thick, and I can put in a nice kind of rustic edge to this roof here. And again, this has a little bit of a drop shadow in the front. Get real dark over there. And we'll ground that in also. And when I talk about grounding, I'm talking about having it just have weight so it's sitting into itself. And let's see, I might put just a little bit of a window or door or something on the front there. And I'll need something in the house too. So maybe just a little idea of door and some windows, just a little detail. And I'm going to scratch out some highlights here for fence posts in front of. Always looking for that light against dark, dark against light. All right, where are we? So again, with this thick, very thick, very dark, just a little bit on the tip. I'll put in this nice vertical that's over here. Whoa. Idea of some sort of power coming to the house from there. Maybe there's a little chimney on here. There we go. And again, just a little bit of some stuff laying in the grass over here. Just some junk. Abstract. There we go. Okay, and finally, I'm going to glaze over this. Well, actually, I need a little bit more shadow here. Just going to put in just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so now that this is all established and I've got these darks here, I'm going to glaze over this foreground. And I'll kind of just do what I did before, but I'm going to start with water first. And just going to kind of put a strip of water here to connect into. It's more about connecting into this water. And I'm going to skip a little bit, let that water push into that. So that water's running down. And that's going to give me some interesting things happening here. So a little bit deeper. Just bring that in. And I think I'll dry brush a little bit of a, whoops, well, that's what you get. So I'm going to have to soften that now. So a little bit more yellow. And I'm just going to let this make a mess. And I'm going to push this, let this yellow run right into there. Travel down. And that should give me a nice glow onto the foreground and create some interesting textures and some long grass kind of feeling. A little bit more over here. Just let it kind of do its thing. Exploit those fun mistakes or those fun textures that watercolor makes that we don't even have to do anything about. Okay, so let's see here. Actually, I want a little bit more intense yellow in there too. So I'm going to do that same thing with the yellow ochre in here. And this is usually very dangerous, but I also like to live dangerously. But I'll just kind of pump that yellow up just a little bit in there. And I think on this roof, I'm going to do a little bit of a I'll do a little bit of a tin roof kind of feeling to it. So I'm actually going to use a flat and give some strokes that give the idea of sort of a tin roof, but this will be really light, kind of in that purpley, bluey kind of color. And let's see what happens. A little more alizarin into that, actually. A little bit more yellow. Want a little bit more warmth, kind of that orangey feeling. There we go. I'll just pull through and dry brush, and this will give me kind of the effect of a tin roof on there. And let's see. And I'm going to tone this down too. So these are just slight adjustments at the very end, just a little bit. I still want light back there, but I want to keep the focus here. So I'm going to just tone that down a little bit back there. And last but not least, I think we need a little hawk in the sky here. Again, this is super thick pigment. A little bit, and if I think about the movement of the painting, just put a little guy right here. 1, 2, we've got a nice bird in the air, and I might put a couple little more, just flex around, just to create a little bit more energy. And that is a little more dark here. Couple little more pieces of dark. But that is a wonderful experiment to do with just 3 colors of yellow ochre, permanent alizarin crimson, and French ultramarine. And if I can get this plate off, I'll give you a better look of it. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look here. See if we can get some better color on this. And there we go. So a really nice summer scene, a really good experiment of trying to limit our palette and see what we can get out of those primaries. And that was a lot of fun. So thanks for joining me here. And head over to danmartialart.com if you'd like to see some more watercolor instruction. If you want to take your painting to the next level, I have lots of videos and things to offer on there. So I hope to see you there. And thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye.